On a misty morning in March 1974, a congressional train bound for Washington derailed in rural Virginia. The only victim was a rising U.S. senator en route to deliver a bombshell report exposing secret military overspending. Inexplicably, just 6 hours before the crash, video footage from the engineer's cab vanished, and a key technician later died under mysterious circumstances. This isn't fiction. It's a political journey that ended in silence.
It was March 12, 1974. Virginia's early spring chill clung to the air as Amtrak's congressional special departed Richmond's Main Street station at 4:15 a.m., carrying a small but high-profile delegation bound for Capitol Hill. Among them, Senator Robert W. Hargrove, a respected Republican freshman with a reputation for integrity and explosive plans. He held documents alleging massive irregularities in military contracts, funds channeled through shell corporations tied to Pentagon procurement officials. His scheduled appearance at a House hearing the next morning promised the unraveling of one of the biggest spending scandals Washington had ever seen. 6 hours before departure, engineers had removed the closed-circuit camera module from the engineer's cab. Station staff recalled the camera was intact when it left Richmond, yet by departure time, it was gone. No explanation was given, no incident logged, just a low-level memo noting equipment removed for servicing. It was the last piece of data that might have solved what happened next. As dawn broke, the train rumbled north along the scenic Potomac corridor. The route passed wooded hills, farmland, and sleepy towns stretching toward Alexandria. Around 6:42 a.m., near Petersburg Junction, disaster struck. The train suddenly jumped the tracks at high speed. The derailment was violent. Carriages kipped onto their sides, screams echoed through packed seats, and twisted steel bit into paint and wood. Rescue crews raced to the site. Miraculously, nearly all 120 passengers escaped with minor injuries. Only Senator Hargrove was found dead, entombed within the derailed car. Emergency medics pronounced him dead at the scene. Trauma consistent with blunt force injuries. No survivors from his coach. No bodies elsewhere. Initial explanations focused on track failure or mechanical malfunction. Federal investigators cited a fractured rail, or perhaps a missing switch point as the cause. But the National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) investigation produced a curious anomaly. No alarm had triggered in the engineer's cab, and the signal logs showed no irregularities. Worse, the missing camera from the cab removed any possibility of viewing the final minutes before the crash. The liability reporting process hit an early roadblock. Local media echoed official statements, accident under investigation, no foul play suspected. But the following day, Capitol Hill was already buzzing. Hargrove's key aide confirmed the senator was carrying marked originals of the procurement scandal report. The document disappeared in the wreckage, no copy ever surfaced. Committee staff later confirmed Hargrove had prepared a second version for distribution, but that too vanished. At 10 p.m. that same evening, the lead technician, William Bill Carver, who had been responsible for rail switch operations at Petersburg Junction earlier that day, was found dead in his home. Officials called it carbon monoxide poisoning in a tragic accident, but colleagues whispered otherwise. Carver had told coworkers earlier that morning he had witnessed something odd with the switch mechanisms. He was uneasy, distracted, and had spoken cryptically of someone watching. Those close to him reported his body was slumped over his desk, documents strewn as if he'd been writing until the end. No note, no known family history of suicide. The official cause was ruled accidental, but Carver's death raised suspicions. In the days that followed, journalists poked deeper. Sources inside the House Armed Services Committee confirmed Hargrove intended to expose contracts awarded to firms front-linked to campaign contributors of a high-ranking Pentagon official. The hearing was to implicate both parties. Suddenly, Hargrove's death looked less like bad luck and more like strategic removal. Federal investigators, briefed quietly, acknowledged behind closed doors that the security envelope around the train was unusually lax. There were no federal undercover agents on board, no K-rail barriers near critical points, and the unusual removal of video equipment remained officially unexplained. The engineer's logbook had been lost in the derailment, or perhaps discarded later. Witness statements from nearby track workers were dismissed as inconsistent. Nothing conclusive emerged. A small coalition of independent investigative journalists and staffers assembled. They found that Carver's death certificate had been amended twice, once to change investigated cause from accident to undetermined, and again to suicide. Police records were mysteriously sealed. A local magistrate later admitted he was pressured by unnamed officials to accept the suicide ruling. The NTSB report was quietly amended to remove references to missing footage and the missing report. Families of victims received token compensation. None ever asked details. Over the next decade, the derailment receded into history. Hargrove's name faded, and the scandal paperwork was presumed destroyed, or perhaps buried on purpose. No congressional committee ever reopened the case. No whistleblowers came forward. The missing report remained unrecovered. Decades later, in 2008, a former NTSB analyst, Ann Villiers, gave an interview to a documentary. She confirmed, "We never had a full sequence of events. The engineer's cab camera went dark exactly 6 hours prior. The technician died of accidental poisoning. Two very unusual loose ends for a mechanical failure." Her interview remains one of few public acknowledgments that this derailment was never fully resolved. Though the official record lists the derailment cause as infrastructure failure, many who knew Hargrove and those who studied the files believe otherwise. His final journey was not an accident. It was a setup. A train engineered to derail at a critical moment, shutting down both a powerful witness and a public reckoning that Washington wasn't meant to endure. So when you think of quiet morning rail rides, remember, one wrong turn can derail more than just a train. It can derail truth. And in the corridors of power, some reports never get to the destination.